Can we start?
Sure.
Yes.
No, I think.
Okay. Start the session. Okay. Good afternoon to all of you.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. My name is Janardhanam, the Secretary of ASSP India Chapter. On behalf of ASSP India Chapter, I feel extremely proud to invite all of you for this fruitful seminar today. From the inception in 2012, ASSP India Chapter is carrying out professional development conference every year, many webinars, seminars, and training sessions for the enhancement of safety, health, and environment in the society. First of all, it is a great honor for me to pronounce and welcome our speaker, Ms. Olga Petukhova, Safety, Health, Environment Coordinator of LLCC, Mondi Aramil, Russia, in the topic of how to deal with incident step by step. It is my pleasure to welcome this webinar session chair, Dr. K. Sen, who is our president and also chair in ICO Scientific Committee in the construction industry. Dr. K. Sen is heading EHS department in L&T, MMHIC, and he is the backbone of all activities of ASSP India Chapter. Further, I am delighted to welcome the moderator of this webinar, Ms. Digantika Ghosh, our EC member and chair vice of ASSP India Chapter. And also I bid a very warm welcome to the coordinator of this webinar, Mr. Swarup Nath Sarkar, EC member of ASSP India Chapter. Finally, I would like to convey my heartful welcome to all participants of this webinar, and I guarantee that your next few hours will be delightful and memorable. I hope this webinar information will be a great help in your career life, and looking forward to having with you again in future webinars as well. With this, I would like to invite Dr. Kenson for rolling out this webinar. Dr. Kenson, the floor is yours now.
Yeah, thank you, Janardhan. Good evening to everyone, and of course, the speaker of the day, Madam Olga. So, welcome to everyone from my side. I'll not take much time between the speaker and all of you. I'm sure you all are eagerly waiting to hear. But a few words about the speaker. Actually, as you know, I have worked in Russia for 2 years. Some of you must be knowing. And when I was trying to connect to my connections in Russia, I came in contact with Olga. Of course, we have not worked together, but I found her very interested in sharing the knowledge, and she's having a huge qualification in terms of master's degree in technogenic safety, diploma with honor, and followed by several professional development programs with University of New Brunswick, University of Bergen, Alberta Construction Safety Association's various short courses. She's also a member of Women in Occupational Health and Safety Society Canada. So she has a very long profile. I'm not going to read that, but I'm sure her experience in the present company, LLC Mondi Aramil, Russia, where she has been working, would be very useful to all of us, and we are all eagerly waiting to hear us. And at the end of the session, the session will be around, say, 45 minutes or so. At the end of the session, we'll have a discussion and some question and answer. So with this, I once again welcome all of you in the ASSP India chapter webinar. we generally have a PDC, which is 2 days long, as Mr. Janardhan was saying. But between the two PDCs, which happen once in a year, we have several webinars. And we had one webinar this year because our year starts in the month of July. So we had one webinar in the month of August with the Indian Association of Productivity, Quality and Reliability jointly. And this is our second independent webinar in the year. And I am sure we will all be having a very good learning session and opportunity, and also understand what is happening in other countries and other part of the world, and exchange our good practices, good knowledge, and improve the overall safety and health globally. So I think mutual learning, mutual exchanges is the way. And I am very happy that Olga has kindly accepted our invitation and agreed to spend her valuable time with us. With this, I once again greet you and hand over the session to you, Olga. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sen. Thank you for inviting me to share some good practice. And as you just said, my name is Olga Petukhova, and I'm SHE coordinator at Mondial Meal. Why SHE, but not HSE as usual? Because for my company, safety definitely goes first. So I'm Safety Health Environment Coordinator. Mondial is a British multinational packaging and paper group employer with around 26,000 people, more than 100 production sites across more than 30 countries, mostly in Europe, of course, Russia, North America, and South Africa. So let me share my screen.
Yes, sure.
Okay, could you see my screen? Can you see the presentation?
Yeah, very nice.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So before we start, I'd like to highlight that fact that if you want to deal with any incident, you should be prepared ahead. So first of all, I suppose it's necessary to determine to your company some definitions for incidents. And depends of these definitions, you will be able to recognize the seriousness of an incident and your next steps based on this. I mean that you shouldn't initiate the investigation process for every detail cutting, but of course, they have to be treated properly, no doubtful. It's often used practice to track TRCR of your plant, I mean total recordable case rate, if you work for a corporation, but I suppose it can be useful for small firms as well in order to track where you're going. So I would recommend solving close calls, or maybe near miss, if you call this way in your company. And first aid cases in general approach. But for incidents higher or equal that medical treatment case, I would recommend to initiate an investigation process. So here you can see the 6 easy steps which I would recommend you to follow in case if you have to deal with incident higher than medical treatment case. So the first step is immediate actions. Second is planning of the investigation. Third one, collecting information and data, determining root causes. Next step is taking actions. And last step, but not least, I called this as incident notice, but to be honest, it's more like sharing your findings with your workers. So let's have a look at all steps closely. immediate actions is definitely following your emergency response plan at first. So, for example, you could have to notify external emergency services, or maybe ensure preservation of the incident scene and implementation of corrective actions to prevent escalation of incidents or maybe environmental damage. And of course, it's necessary to make arrangements to photograph or video the scene as soon as possible. So next step is planning the investigation. As a health safety professional, you definitely must participate in the investigation process and be a part of investigation team. However, it would be better to have as a team leader of this investigation team some operation managers or maybe senior line managers. And their responsibilities would be to initiating the process of investigation and, of course, to be sure that emergency response plan is following. In addition to this, they are responsible for the whole process of the investigation, and they have to find out who is necessary to be a part of our investigation team. For example, it could be workforce representatives, subject matter experts with knowledge relevant to the incident. Maybe in some cases, they're required technical experts. And of course, health and safety expert. In this case, would be more like a facilitator of the process. What does this mean to be a facilitator? So as a health safety professional, you have to challenge investigation team to support an objective process, not to find who's to blame, but determine real root causes. You have to provide your expert knowledge, ensure that all facts are listed in the report, and it's responsibility of health and safety professional ensure that the system is in place to follow up on closure and effectiveness of action items. Of course, first line managers are responsible to do many actions, but health and safety professional has to give them a tool which could help them at least remember about their actions. So another responsibility of health and safety professional is ensure that the system is in place to communicate incidents and learnings. If we conduct the investigation just for putting into the table, it will not work. So the next step would be to determine sequencing the events. Here are some examples, and I suppose you can see that we considered the event forklift rolls off, and this event took place at 10:17. However, how you can see, we started from 7:30 when driver arrived at work. What do you think? Why we should consider events from the start of the day? Even little obstacles at the start of the day could affect sequencing the events. For example, if our line manager allowed a drunk worker to drive at 6 a.m., this definitely has to be taken into account during our investigation process. So we have to determine sequencing of the events, sequencing the events of the day in order to not lose some important causes which might occur early, not just before an incident. So how we will find out this kind of information, like sequencing of the events or maybe some reasons for this incident? We should conduct an interview with witnesses, for example. So now here you can see what we definitely should not do and should not say. We don't interrogate, because you're not a policeman, yeah? Don't ask yes/no questions. We want to hear the full person's story. So that's why it would be not so useful for us to just hear yes or no. We don't ask who's to blame, because we are searching for the truth. Don't ask leading questions, because we don't aim to hear our story instead of the true one. Don't withhold notes, because we don't aim to scare the person. And don't issue opinions, at least not on this stage of investigation process. So now we know what we shouldn't do, but how it would be better to conduct the interview. I would suggest to use the 5 whys plus H approach. It means that all our questions can start with words. Who, like who gave the permission for driver to drive forklift? What does the procedure say about checking forklift before the start of the work, for example? When, for example, when driver started to work, where driver was thrown out of the cab. Why? For example, why driver drive there to this direction, for example, and how our driver gain access to the forklift, for example. So for what purpose we are collecting the data and this information? For determining root causes, yes. And how we can determine root causes of our incident. The 5 whys method is a part of Toyota production system. This method was developed by Sakishi Toyota, a Japanese inventor. And what is the purpose of 5 why or YY analysis? A YY is conducted to identify solutions to a problem that address its root cause or root causes. Rather than taking actions that are merely band-aids, YY helps you to identify how to really prevent the incident from happening again. So YY analysis, we start with defining the problem. Like in our example, our problem was the employee was thrown out of the cab of the forklift. Here our problem. So then we ask why. The team leader or facilitator will ask the questions why and try to keep the team focused. The answer should be based on facts and real data rather than on emotional opinions. So the facilitator should ask why as many times as needed, not just 5 times, but as many times as needed, until the team can identify the root cause of the initial problem. So at first it can look like brainstorming, but you should focus on finding the root causes. For example, why was the employee thrown out of the cab of the forklift? He was not wearing his seatbelt. It was our first suggestion. So we put it here. There's often more than one root cause, and the 5 whys analysis looks more like a matrix with different branches, how you can see here. For example, we can also consider that employee was thrown out of the cab because the vehicle rolled. So, and we go further and ask why again. So why the vehicle rolled? Why he was not wearing his seatbelt? You should write down the team suggestions, all team suggestions. But in case if they are not supported by facts, you have to eliminate them. Like here, we suggested that the driver broke the rule. So not following rules. However, maybe he didn't want to do so, but the seatbelt was missing. So that's why he didn't wear him. So as you can see in gray, we highlight that suggestion which was not based on the facts. So this approach may help you to detect and eliminate organizational and system issues that have permanent negative effects on the overall performance. Like in this case, where there were not checking vehicle at all. So we asked why again and again and find out that supervisor did not see any value for going through a checklist before the start of the work. It was one of our root cause. So here are some tips for checking your why analysis. After ending one branch, you should go through all of these suggestions, all of these answers to question why, one by one, from the first towards our root cause. For example, why was the employee thrown out of the cab? Because he was not wearing his seatbelt, because seatbelt was missing, because checklist was not completed, because checklist was not in use anymore, because supervisor did not see any value and stopped use this checklist 3 months prior to the incident. So sounds quite logical and coherent, but you should go towards our root cause to first why as well. Like here, supervisor did not see any value in checklists and stopped using of them. Therefore, checklist was not in use anymore. Therefore, checklist was not completed. Therefore, seatbelt was missing. Therefore, our driver was not wearing his seatbelt, and therefore, he was thrown out of the cab. So quite logical. So it means that our analysis is rather good. Another tip for checking your why analysis is to thinking over the several factors, such as work environment. I mean, did you think over about work environment during our analysis? We should also consider a factor as person, people, method of works, and equipment, as well as factors which did a contribution to the incident. It's not necessary to write down here all these factors. Maybe they're only one reason for this incident. But you have to go through all factors in order to think, oh, maybe I forgot about something. Okay. Let's go further. After the why analysis, we have to review and categorize each findings. And I mean that here we find out 3 root causes and we have to categorize each of them. The fundamental concept when selecting category factors is acceptance of the human error. Human error is a normal characteristic of human behavior. And also, it can be reduced. It cannot be completely eliminated. So that's why we can't say, the reason was in that he broke the rule. The driver broke the rule. That's all. The end. No, people can make mistakes, and that's why we have to search deeper. Many incidents occur not because they could not be prevented, but because the organization did not appreciate the gaps in their safety systems, nor learn from lessons from past incidents within or outside their organization. It would be great to have some tool for sharing your findings between different plans, like we do in Mondi, for example. So, where were we? The investigation team shall select the category factors for each of root causes, and there can be organizational factors, task and environment conditions, individual or team actions, and failed or absent defenses. I suppose I should explain these categories. Organizational factors are organizational failures that produce or allow conditions under which accidents are possible. So usually they go undetected for long periods or become apparent on combining with other incident contributing factors. What reasons could be examples of organizational factors? It could be valuable senior management decisions, or maybe affect supervisor practice, or conditions and practices of employee, maybe contractors. For example, if we have a poor system for choosing contractors, how we can guarantee that they will follow rules or work safely, for example. Individual or team actions, it's errors or maybe violations that have an immediate adverse effect. Like in this case, we suggested that a person broke the rules. If it's a root cause, it would go in this category. Risk control failures or defense failures. Latent failures relating to the control measures which did not prevent the incident or limit the consequences. This can be failures in equipment, work process, detection system, maybe in laser barriers, maybe in rules or procedures that normally prevent incidents. So the next step is taking actions. How we can work with our findings then. The investigation team must develop corrective and preventative actions based on our findings. So, and these actions here to eliminate or reduce the risk of reoccurrence to as low as reasonably practical, to address the identified factors and maybe failed risk controls. So what should we use for choosing the best corrective and preventive actions? The hierarchy of controls, of course. So as you can see here, safety culture in our company, for example, is higher than other controls. What do you think, why? Unless safety culture is high quality, all other controls can be in vain. You can come up with an ideal work procedure, but if everyone ignore it, the procedure will cost nothing. And action must be specific. What does this mean, specific? We have to write down action which definitely relate to our situation. action has to be measurable. So we have to know exactly in which case we can say that this action is implemented. Action has to be measurable. Then action has to be achievable. We shouldn't come up with unrealistic plans. Action has to be relevant, as we has mentioned before. They have to reduce our risks, and action has to have deadlines, and of course, person who are responsible for implementing these actions. So, in other words, actions has to be smart. In most cases, the line managers are responsible for ensuring that actions are closed out and followed up. And health and safety professional is responsible to have a system in place to monitor the completion of the actions, and that on-site verification is conducted. It's even more important to ensure the effectiveness of the actions implemented. It means that you have to check that implemented actions at first they're implemented, and second that they not added additional risks, and they addressed those risks that were identified. In our company, we use master plan for that purpose, and health and safety professionals are responsible for tracking this action and also implementation of actions of master plan is a PDR of every line manager. So the last but not least step is communication about this incident with workers. From my point of view, the easiest way is to use incident notice, which contains incident description, hazards, and causes which we found out during our investigation process. It has to contain planned measures or planned actions to eliminate the similar incidents in the future. And also it's necessary to put here photos from the site, or if it's impossible, maybe some photo of imitated injury. Here you can see the example from our plant. As you can notice, here is description in place of the incident, also root causes, which was found out during investigation process, and actions, which we were planned to do. In our plans, we show the category of these actions as well, and also the photo for better understanding by workers how it was. So from my point of view, it would be better for first line managers, for example, or for safety professional, and just print out this incident notice, go to the field and discuss this with your workers. Of course, you shouldn't be only a speaker, because if only you speaking, everyone become bored about safety in one day. So it would be better to engage workers in the discussion about this incident in order to they maybe suggest the similar situation in our plant with our equipment, or also to they share their worries and fears maybe. So I suppose it's all for now. So thank you for this opportunity to share my practice, and hope this webinar will help you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Olga, for your presentation. And I think this session can be open for question and answer if any. But I will like to place a question before I move it to the others. Uh, See, when you have a multidisciplinary group, like people from various countries and various nationalities, so how you think that this can be, more effectively conducted? Which do you use some charts, or how you do that when you have a people from various places and you want to interview a large you have to interview some more people for in connection with an incident which has led to some serious consequence. What would be your suggestion?
Well, to be honest, we conduct investigation, our process at first within one plant. So we prepare the draft of our report. So then we share this with the head of SHE coordinators of the whole Consumer Flexible groups. So we also have some great digital tool for analyzing all incidents from all plants, which called MICE. So during 24 hours, we sent our notification that here was an incident in our plan and it was this way. Just a little description, short description about how it was. And then we have 14 days for discussing this incident, for conducting by analysis, for preparing the whole report with clear showing the root causes, with, of course, categorizing them in order to, it was clear for whole teams, it was clear for the head of health safety coordinators. So we sent the draft of the report to the head of our group. And then he can, in order, if it's necessary, can share our draft with other maybe technical experts, or we can also create a webinar for discussion this topic. We often use WebEx for this purpose, and all webinars go in English. So after 14 days, we have to get approbation from the head of the SHE coordinators, and we sent our report to this system MICE. After that, we have another 7 days for preparing our incident notice. We send this for whole SHE coordinators, for whole plants, and also management directors of whole plants as well. And also, this incident notice will be put into the whole pool of incidents, safety incidents in Monday group. So every health and safety coordinator has to monitor all incidents in our Monday group and discuss all of them with our teams, with our workers, at least with our first line managers, in order that they will discuss this incident with our workers. So we set aside at least one day a month for these discussions of all incidents from whole plants. In addition to this, we have statistics. So we categorize factors and put them into MICE in order to make some analysis of the main gaps in whole plants. So the gaps of our safety system. Yeah.
Thank you.
This.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Olga.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah. I would like to ask some question regarding the near miss. So in India, we are calling as a near miss incident. And do we have any classification in the near miss incident? In the near miss also, we may classify as a minor near miss or major near miss, how to differentiate, how you are defining that?
Yeah, we also determine close calls as minor close calls and major close calls, and we treat major close calls with potential severity higher than S4. I suppose it means that potentially the potentially injured person could be go for sick leave for at least 7 days. So in this case, we will treat this major close call or major near miss as an ordinary incident. So we will conduct investigation process as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any addition?
Sir.
Purushottam.
Yes. Good evening, Ms. Olga. It was nice presentation. It's Purushottam here from ASSP Treasurer. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, just could you, in this continuation of the same question, close call and major close call, could you just give some more idea, S1 to S6? You mentioned maybe severity 1, I'm not sure. Could you just throw some light on S1 to S6? What is S1 and what is S6? The grades with respect to consequence of an injury or accident.
I'm sorry, could you repeat this a little bit slowly?
Yeah, sorry. See, this with respect to the close call and major close call, could you throw some light on the S1 to S6? You mentioned about S1 to S6. S1 to S4 is a close call. Major close call is S4 to S6 in your one of the slides. Could you just throw some light or can share what is S1 and what for S2, what is S6, the categories of the severities?
Oh, okay, I understand the question. So S0, so when we will not injured at all. S1, if we have to put band-aid, for example. So we have to open our first aid kit for some treatment of this, maybe a little cutting.
Okay.
Then S3 is a medical treatment case when we have to go to the hospital and there will be maybe put some stitch from the medical personnel. S4 is when our injured person got some leave sick but shorter than 7 days. S5 when the length of the sick leave longer than 7 days, so 7 and higher. Yeah, S5 is when it how it say for example when it's damage of the face of worker, when it's totally cover up the life of people. And S6 it's fatality.
Okay, so this is this S1 to S6 categorization you developed in your organization Mondi, or it is a Russian, or is any kind of where it's as per which this one is actually this categorization? Just I would like to know.
Yes, so we define this categorization for all our these definitions were established by our company. Yeah, and
very nice.
They're the same for all Mondi plans.
Okay, nice. Thank you.
Anybody want to ask any questions?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
This is Vishnu will answer, and after that I will. Vishnu, you can start, or may I?
Yes, sir. I will start. Is it okay?
Fine.
Good evening, madam. It was a good presentation, and it's like what do you call? You throw some knowledge to people like us who is very new to this particular industry, safety industry. So, but I would like to. Hello.
Yeah, we are listening. We can able to listen. Vishnu, continue.
Yes. I would like to ask some clarifications from my side, like how regarding this recording and reporting of incidents, like in particular in your country, like whether we will be recording and reporting every incident, starting from minor incidents to major incidents, whether we'll be following the same steps or any conditions on that.
I'm sorry. Where we start the recording? What conditions? That's
No,
not so clear for me.
regarding this recording of incidents and reporting of incidents, like it will vary from this minor incident, major incident could be there. So whether in your company, like whether you'll be recording and reporting every incident, like every steps, like from minor to major.
To be honest, we collect all statistic about our incidents as well as measure incidents, but in our RCR we put only incidents with severity higher than S4. So S4, S5, S6.
Okay, so but what about this, like minor incidents, like any other separate steps or any other separate plan for that, for dealing that particular incidents?
Okay, so in our case, we do not start the investigation process, but we also, for example, if it's close call, minor close call, we at first use our digital approach for tracking them. So we have tablets on each department when every worker can put here some information about the close call or near miss. And this automatically go to the head of this department where this near miss occurred. So this person have to arrange a meeting between health and safety coordinator, him and the person, maybe affected person, which was defined during this close call. For example, if it's something particular like rule violation, so we will get together with this person who broke the rule, and we start to just discuss what we can do with this. So after determining maybe some easy steps, like, I don't know, conducting some tool talks, maybe, or conducting some additional trainings. Maybe it could be implementation of some, I don't know, science for this place, for reducing the close calls. So initiator of this process is the head of the department where the close call occurred. And this person start to ask everyone what can we do and determine the possible steps for solving the problem, of course, with agreeing with she coordinator. So he or she determines the deadlines for these actions, put them into our digital system, and by the end of the due date, I got a notification that it's time to check the was this action implemented or not. So we use this way.
Okay, thank you, madam.
I have one question. Thank you, Olga. It is a nice presentation, and it is really great that you have hierarchy of control. You have added that the culture that really, and you given the 50% and more than 50% of weightage. And really, when during the investigation, if we focus the culture, why analysis, we are really focused on that major percentage of the possible causes, and in control measure, hierarchy or control, when going to identify, it will be really help to the safety professional as well as the industries. Ultimately, you have only, it is very nice actually that culture, the hierarchy of control, it is being included. That is great learning for me, and really I appreciate, and I wish everyone should follow this system when we are identifying and analyzing the incident as well as
Thank you. As you know, more than 90% of incidents were here because of the people's behavior. So we definitely have to take this into account while investigation process. Yeah, that's true.
Mr. Somraj, you want to ask something? Mr. Somraj.
Yes, very good evening, sir, and EHS fraternity. It's my privilege, and I'm very much glad to have this platform to understand the nuances in the field of incident reporting. I also thank to ASSP chairman, spokesperson, and chairperson of this session. And welcome, Olga. Thank you so much to share this enriching session. I really appreciate, as Babaya also stated, that in the hierarchy of controls, you have added culture as one of the control, and that is the need of the hour. And we all safety professionals have to think seriously on that, and we have to convey this message to the top management also, because everything is top management driven. So even the culture makes a very significant role during the incident investigation too. So that we appreciate, and thank you so much for sharing this valuable session. Second thing I want to learn that when we talk about near miss, we can categorize this near miss. See, as in India, we used to categorize near miss in two, classifications. That is unsafe act and unsafe conditions. Correct. So, where we can conclude that near miss is an incident or an accident, because near miss is near miss. Correct. And you may please justify that, and you may please, give me a clarification whether near miss can be considered as an incident, because incident or accident is a post thing that has already occurred. Correct. So how you justify that? Thank you.
So as you have just mentioned, we also divide close calls to as an unsafe behavior, unsafe conditions, and using first aid cases, first aid kits. I'm sorry. And I agree with you that near misses, it's accidents. And we put word incident when we are talking about some injuries. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
One more question from Mr. Ulaganathan. Do you submit the investigation reports to the regulators? What sort of support you get from the regulators? This is question from Mr. Ulaganathan. Ms. Olga.
I'm sorry, what kind of support? I'm sorry?
Do you submit investigation reports to the regulators, to your regulators?
Any authority,
Government authority. Do you submit the report to government authority?
Unfortunately, as we have some requirements from the Monti Group, and the Monti Group mostly based in Europe, but for Russia, we have definitely another definitions for incidents and definitely another rules for reporting them. So in case if it's incident with severity higher than S4, I have to provide two kind of reports. So one for the Monti Group using our digital approach, and second one for our authority. And we have to tell them about any cases of injury in our plant if our worker get an injury leave, sick leave for more than 24 hours.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Olga. Another one question from Mr. Sandeep Mukherjee. How to link YY analysis with the incident causation analysis?
How to link YY analysis with what kind of analysis?
Yeah, YY analysis with the incident causation analysis. He is asking about with the incident causation analysis. How to link YY analysis with the incident causation analysis? He is asking about that.
Excuse me. Can I explain, Olga?
Yeah. Please.
Yeah. Good evening, all of you, and including Olga. Incident causes analysis means, I mean to say that, there are analysis sometimes people used to use. Normally, we also use in our while doing the investigation, finding out fast unsafe act, or unsafe condition, or both unsafe act and unsafe condition. Then we go next level, that find out the contributory clause, like personal failure or in the system failure, and then root cause. System failure, then root cause, like this, so on. So we call it incident causation model. So in this YY analysis, what we have learned here, like we used to ask 5 why question. So how we will can we link these two type of causation analysis? Like for example, probably first why, the question what we ask, probably that is the unsafe act and unsafe condition, and then next question when we ask next why, probably that is the like personal factor or job factor. Is it like that?
I mean that you also can go from the incident, like was shown in this example. So incident, and then we ask why it was happened, and go further. Or you can divide our question why into several categories, like equipment, personal, as you said, or maybe work environment, and start our branch from these different factors. So in this case, we will not see this like a tree, but like several branches from, for example, 4 different aspects.
Thank you, Olga.
I can share with you. If you give me a second, I'll find some example on my computer in order to you better understand what exactly I mean. Give me a second.
I think for YY analysis, before that, we need to have the contributory factor. We have to emphasize the contributory factor. Which factors are contributed for that accident? Maybe this is administrative factor, maybe some sort of engineering factors, a lot of factors, environmental factors, behavioral factors. So after the behavioral factor, if we identify which of the factors are really contributed for the incident, then the identified factor, then we have to have the YY analysis. So like this fishbone diagram, then we can go for the YY analysis. I think that maybe the Sandeep sir, maybe here this is the way we can go forward. This is my
I
idea.
understand. I understand. Thank you, ladies.
Sir, this is my view actually. Contributed factor, if we identify, then we can go for the YY analysis.
Olga was trying to show some slide, no, or something like that.
And we like to see Mr. sir also after a long time.
I suppose I will not find it so quickly as I expected.
No problem. So, Janardhan, you will. Ashok ji has mentioned something. Ashok ji
somebody raised the hand. Mr. Ashok is giving thanks message to the speaker. Somebody is raising. Rajesh Kumar is raising the hand. Anything you want to talk about?
Yes, sir. Yes, good evening, everyone. And thank you very much. It's a great presentation, and we learned so much things from Olga. Just why question? Just why is a question to dig down the root causes? We cannot stop unless find out the good root causes. That's why we are questioning why. Every time we will apply the why. That's why we are digging down. We are digging down the root causes. That's why we are using the why. This is the pattern of the investigation to find out the root causes.
Yeah,
that's it.
It's a kind of probing method. It's a kind of probing.
We need to wrap up, Jana. So
okay. Yeah, I request everybody to open your camera to take the photos. Open up your camera to take photo. Swaroop, Gigantika, Swaroop, if anybody is there, you can take some printout. Rajesh, you can open up your camera, please. Pushottamam, you can open up your camera. Pushottamam?
Yeah, open.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can take the floor, okay, and then you can do that.
No, now I think our Sarkar will propose a vote of thanks and then we can close, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Sarkar or Purushottam or anybody. Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Good evening, all. First of all, thanks to joining this session in spite of this pandemic situation, and a special thanks to the presenter, Ms. Olga from Monte Group, from connecting from us from Russia, the European-based company, with this, sharing their details about the accident investigation, the step-by-step procedure, where is this very important process to prevent or to avoid this one recurrence for any investigations. And the effective investigation play a lot of role in the management, culture improvement, and the system lackings without finding the digging on the process, improve the process, and also sharing the 5 whys. Though it is very common, but mostly it is, I can say, overlooked. This one, starting from the incidents category, she also shared a close call, what is the major close call, and also the questionnaire also she shared what are categories of significant S1 to S6, which the Monte group developed themselves. Really nice to hear from her. And also the 6-step process, and briefing all the 6 steps in one by one, with the responsibilities, what would be the senior management and the safety facilitators, and coming to the organizing data structure, what are the 5 whys, in addition to how, and 5 W's plus how, the first one, then secondly 5 whys, why analysis to the extent possible, even we can add more also, and the sequencing an event with the forklift roll off with a very detailed way. And we also had how to throw the questions, the good things, what are the open questions, closed questions, and without blaming anyone. So share the entirely the sequence of flow of these entire things for the accident investigation. Thank you very much for your time and sharing your experience of Monday. Thank you very much once again. Also, I thanks all the Mr. Kenson, Mr. All the EC committee members, Mr. Janardhanam and Ms. Digantika, and all those who directly, indirectly contributed for this webinar, conducting this webinar for this, and all the, and last not the least, all the participants. Almost we closed to more than 60 participants in the beginning, in spite of their weekends, and they are traveling back to their home. It is almost 7:03. I'm not sure what is the time in Russia. What is the time, Olga, in by chance in your destination?
6:30.
6:30. Okay, so okay, there is a half an hour lag. Okay, so it's almost 7 o'clock or 3 minutes past 7 o'clock. So people may be moving back to rush to their homes, and this weekends will be a little traffic congestion will be more. So in spite of all these odds, the people are joined here. Thank you very much, and wish you will connect more with you, and we'll have more such programs for the enlightening the people. Thank you once again. Thank you all the participants.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Olga.
Thank
And
you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks, Olga. Take
Thank you,
care.
everyone.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so
Take care.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Okay. We close.
Closing.